I had like this expectation of looking like more like tomboyish, more like masculine, in which I don't think I mind sometimes, but it's not really what I think I am. Like, and that's something that I like realized when I was like in gay clubs and stuff, that it's either you have to either be really femme or really masculine, or else people are just like what are you? And that kind of made me like feel a little sad, because I never felt like even there in the queer community I belonged, so it was kind of like rough.
I guess my mom was always trying to put me into dresses as a child, and my mom put me in like tights and a dress and like a little bow tie, and I hated that. And so when I got to school, I took my tights off because I was like, I'm so cool. Like, I just want to dress the way that I want to dress. My mom was like, that is not how a lady dresses. I didn't see it that way. I thought it was more like a way to perceive my identity. So.
Welcome back to the Let Me Be Perfectly Queer podcast. I'm your host, Beth, and this podcast is filmed on Stalo territory at the University of the Fraser Valley. We are also here in the studio at Civil Radio, CIVL 101.7 and CIVL.ca. Today, I had two very special guests, Diana Blanco. She's an illustrator, an animator, and astrology seeker from Colombia. You can follow her Instagram at Diana Blanco Art. And Amber K. Hawks. She is an animator, Libra, and weather lover from Calgary. You can follow her Instagram, this_is_no_art. I hope you enjoy. So this is a very exciting episode because for the first time, we have two guests here today. I'm super excited to have both of you. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Beth. Thanks for having us. We're so enamored to be here right now. I'm Amber. This is my beautiful girlfriend, Diana.
I'm Diana. Hi. She's my girlfriend.
Stated. We love each other. Diana's from Colombia. And I'm from Calgary, Alberta. And we met in Vancouver. And here we are. We're living our best lives ever since.
I love Amber. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so I actually originally just reached out to Diana about coming on this podcast because I was really interested in hearing more about your experience growing up in Colombia and what that was like for you, because we've talked about it a little bit before, and it sounds like it wasn't the best time or best place to be a queer person. You both can tell me a little bit more about your experiences growing up and how that was, and we can kind of compare and contrast, Calgary, Colombia.
Well, I think personally, I knew that I liked girls from a very young age. I knew, like, since I was like 9 that I liked girls, but I realized, like, around me, there was not even a choice for that to be a different, like for me, like I could like them, no. And I think it's because it's surrounded by a lot of like religious beliefs, at least when I was like younger it was, and there was sort of kind of like an expectation for me to look a certain way and be feminine, and I think I had a rough time. And when I was in school I saw like one kid that like was very like flamboyant and kind of like out, and he got bullied a lot. So I don't think I felt very comfortable coming out at all, or even thinking about that I was gay until I was like in 9th grade. And I think my brain was like, okay, what are you doing? You're f***ing gay. So I think I didn't like choose to come out. I think I was just caught. But yeah, surprise, you're gay. No, but like I genuinely had my phone like laying on somewhere with a conversation with the chat open that I shouldn't have left there, and then my dad read it and I was like, oh yeah, she's my friend ? And then well, how things just turn out to me coming out to him. Thankfully my dad is a very like open-minded guy, I guess, for his age, if you would like to say that, and he was very loving afterwards. And I think to this point he's so excited to meet Amber, which, by the way, he will meet in like 6 days, so cheers on that.
That's exciting.
Yeah. But I guess as to me, I'm going back to Anidia, sorry. I think when I came to Canada, I could feel the contrast. I could feel that I could hold her hand outside and be like totally chill about that. I would be like, okay, I don't feel like people are literally like looking at me and thinking like naughty things and weird stuff. I just felt like comfortable doing that, or maybe dressing in a more tomboyish way without feeling like, oh, why is she dressing like that? Oh, let's look at her. Like, I think difference in Colombia when I was like a teenager was very like, it will stand out a lot if you didn't look like very feminine and like very straight up, bitch. I don't know. So that's a little bit about my experience regarding that. I think I'm very thankful right now for what I've like accomplished as to, be more comfortable talking about it out loud. And she's looking at me. And I don't know. I think for my like grandparents, right? I think it's still not something that I will like talk about with them, because for them, truthfully, religion is very important, and then I think they just don't accept it in the same way. They think it's sinful and stuff like that. So we try to still bond and be in like the same space together, but we do not like speak about it. No. And it's sad because I feel like if I was just open like about it since I was like a little kid, I think I would have been able to find my identity sooner. And then maybe don't taboo it as much as maybe I did when I was like 16, 17. I was like, no, I don't like that. I hate it. Like, I was masking so much.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair. I think everybody should just be able to express themselves and just be free.
Yeah, definitely. It's so hard especially when it's such a big part of your identity and you're trying so hard to push it down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can end up really it really damages your self-esteem, I feel like. So I'm glad that you were able to accept that part of yourself. And like, I mean, I see you as a very confident person now. I don't know if you see yourself that way, but
I see it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so it's really good to see that. And how about you, Amber? Like, I know Calgary is kind of like...
It's kind of yeehaw.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. It's definitely yeehaw. I felt like I grew up in divorced households, so I would go to my father's house and I would go to my mom's house. We'd share 50-50, so I was never really in one place at the same time for very long. But I grew up reading a lot of Lady Gaga magazines, I will tell you that. And it really evokes something within me. I identify as bisexual now because of Lady Gaga. I will say that. But I don't know, I feel like I didn't really know what I was repressing until I got to the point where I was like, oh, I can really date that girl over there. So then I did start dating somebody who was female presenting at birth. And it was a beautiful experience, but things didn't really end out well. And then I met Deanna, so no complaints. But yeah.
How old were you in that first relationship? I want to hear about your first relationship as well.
Okay.
I was 16, 17.
Okay, so high school age.
So high school, basically. Yeah, typical things where I would like run off with them and not see my parents for like a week because I was with this other person. It was okay. I had a lot of firsts in this relationship, so it was kind of like exploring new grounds. There was a lot of stereotypes that we beat. I know that like we'd get discriminated a lot in Calgary because it's yeehaw, as I mentioned. But I don't know. I thought that we were very true to ourselves, so we didn't limit everything that we were doing together. So it made me who I was today, and I'm very comfortable sharing my life with Deanna. So.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to overcome that discrimination, especially as a high school girl. Like, it's really hard to stand out like that sometimes. So.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there was also that religious aspect that was hard to overcome. But I don't know. I wouldn't call myself religious just because, things happen. But it didn't really restrain me, but it was always that feeling of like, say I come out to my grandparents in Quebec, they're very religious, but they're also pretty accepting. So there's also those kind of like counterparts together.
So how about you, Deanna, your first relationship?
Okay, so shout out to whoever was in love with her best friend at school, because that was me.
You're the
was
real
totally
one.
me. I if you're seeing this, please go away. I'm just kidding. But like, I think it was the fact that I was like avoiding it. It's my best friend at high school, you know. So she is very straight, but it's the fact that I don't know. We were playing like some truth and dare game, and then I would just like dare to give her like a kiss. I was like opposed to that. I was like, ew, I don't want to do that. I'm not gay. Please go away. But then, you know, it was only me trying to avoid actually having some kind of contact in that way. And then when it happened, it really opened my eyes. I felt like my heart like fluttering. I felt like butterflies. And I was just like, okay. I think after that moment, I think I opened my mind entirely. And I was like, oh, so I'm not asexual. I'm actually just very gay. So I opened myself right in that moment. I think I talked with other people. I kind of like introduced myself to a more queer environment that even if it's Colombia, let me tell you, there's a lot of gays in there too. So I found myself like a very queer group. We started to, you know, hang out, go like maybe dance, maybe go paint, like kind of like that environment. And then like my first like important girlfriend, I think I saw like a future for myself in that like way. I think we really connected. We had like a very same like way of thinking. It was like when I was already in university, so I was already like 19, 18. Don't ask my age, I'm old. And the point is that we lasted for a fair amount of time, like a year. And I think, I don't know, it helped me understand what I wanted for me. And I think bonding over trauma with Amber really is what I think makes us so like compatible in a way, because we understand where we come from and the same kind of like traumas in our families. Like I have also split up parents. It's okay. And I think just, you know, seeing the two sides of a story, it's something that I think for us as a couple is very important. I don't know, when we hang out with people and stuff, we are never like, oh yeah, we have to do this. We like to hear both sides of a story, you know. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we're kind of those people that really like the gossip. Say we're in a restaurant and we're silently eating because the table beside us is arguing. We're very involved.
Like,
it's like dinner and the show. How could you not?
For free in this economy?
It's fun. And I don't know, something that maybe I should mention, yeah, I totally should mention it. It's that I think maybe in Colombia at the time where I was going to these, you know, queer environments and stuff, I think there was some kind of like expectation to the way that I should dress, because I am more like a masculine / dominant / hot / energy. Yeah. I think I had like this expectation of looking like more like tomboyish, more like masculine, in which I don't think I mind sometimes, but it's not really what I think I am. Like, I think I am very versatile with how I like to dress. And that's something that I like realized when I was like in gay clubs and stuff, that it's either you have to either be really femme or really masculine, or else people are just like gonna look at you like, what are you even doing here? Like, what are you? And that kind of made me like feel a little sad, because I never felt like even there in the queer community I belonged. So it was kind of like rough. In here though, or maybe it's because it's more like progressive right now, I'm not sure, that I found myself identifying more like queer. And I think there's some days that I can definitely dress up more like masculine, and then other days more like feminine. And I think it should be like I shouldn't be like shamed for that, which sadly I have to say for my previous girlfriend kind of like did. Like when I decided to dress up more like girly, or had like kind of like yes like reaction, she would be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you acting this way? And kind of like, it was kind of sad. I don't know. I don't know if you have experienced that, but
I don't know. I feel like I just dress up. I don't know why. It's something coded within me or something. Maybe it's because I'm gay. I don't know. The doctors can't diagnose it. So I don't know. I've never really felt restricted. I guess my mom was always trying to put me into dresses as a child. I remember once I went to school like a normal civilian would do. And my mom put me in like tights and a dress and like a little bow tie. And I hated that. And so when I got to school, I took my tights off because I was like, I'm so cool. Like, I just want to dress the way that I want to dress. And yeah, I don't know. I felt discriminated because my mom was like, that is not how a lady dresses. That is not how that's supposed to happen. And I didn't see it that way. I thought it was more like a way to perceive my identity. So
yeah,
strange.
Yeah, I actually also was raised so religiously that I only wore skirts and dresses for like the first up to like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I mean, I liked it. Like, I loved dressing femininely. That was never something that bothered me as a child. But then going through puberty and like also discovering that sort of queer part of myself, I did like a full switch where I started trying to dress more masculine. And then, you know, eventually you settle and you realize like you shouldn't put yourself in a box and you shouldn't let other people put you in a box. You should just dress how you want.
It's well said. Of course. Well, yeah, I guess even through the restrictions, you know, of like being told what to wear, you can always kind of shine through and see exactly what you want to wear. So I'm glad we've all found that.
I don't know, but as for the Latin community, it's kind of like this misconception that we are all not gay and we're just like all these Latina, and I don't know why. It's just strange, but let me tell you, there's gays everywhere.
Everywhere. So, we're all around you. We're in your walls.
Exactly. So I don't know, sometimes people, like, when they found out about my sexuality after like knowing that I'm Colombian, they immediately will go to a place like, really? I didn't know you and then they just have like a brain fog about thinking about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's totally possible. So I don't know, I like to think that the future is like showing more like, I don't know, like a open mind regarding like wherever you come from thing. But I know as like for Colombia, no, it still has a long way to go because still very like traditional country. But I don't know, I went to the Pride every year, so
there was a Pride parade in Colombia.
Oh, and it's a good thing. It's a very massive thing. Like, I think the same way that you will think about like a carnival or like a Latin party, is the same. It's everybody's happy. There's music. There's a lot of like different, I don't know, I guess brands that want to like show that they like support the community. Yeah, and I think one of the first like experiences that I had was going to one in Colombia, where I saw so many people that actually belong to the community, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not the only one that is gay finally. Yeah, and I don't know, I met a lot of people in there, and there was always room for like also queer artists to like present themselves, and like there was more than one occasion like one of them like came out, and it was great because nobody will know. Like, I don't know if you know Cani Garcia or Pablo Alboran, but queer people anyway. And they're very talented, and they didn't come out after, you know, I think it's because media sometimes wants like artists to be in a certain way, and then later on, because they're already like famous, they can actually find a platform to do that. And like, and they did that, and I felt very proud because I like Cani Garcia a lot, and she always looked so straight to me. So yeah, another win for the gays. Woo!
Another win for the gays.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah, that's really cool. So there was like definitely a queer presence in Colombia, but I'm curious to hear about your decision to come to Canada and what kind of influenced that. Like, was it just school, or did you really crave that environment where you could be more open about yourself?
Well, definitely, I think I had a plan for like a long time now. I think since I was like in my other university, I did graphic design at Mayor, and I don't know, I was like 20, and I thought to myself, okay, maybe I could go on an exchange, maybe I could go somewhere else. And then I had this conversation with my dad, and he's like, oh wait, what are your options? What do you want to do? And then I thought about animation. I like animation, I like to draw, I want to tell stories that come to life and can make people smile. And I think when like Canada came to like, you know, the table and I talk about it with my dad, we were both like, okay, this is a very progressive country. Like, I think I could get married here and it would not be as a taboo as it is maybe in Colombia, but also it has a very like large diversity of like kind of different kinds of people coming from everywhere, which I also appreciate, because if you go to Colombia, there's like a very the same kind of like people all the time. In here, I've met people from different religions, from I don't know, different ethnicities, different like ideals, and I like that. I feel it has helped me a lot to not be so much in like a little bubble, but actually understand more about the world, which is in the end what I wanted to do. And I think it was not like a disappointment. It hasn't been. Like, you can see I'm with Amber now. So I'm very happy. I like to tell her that I came here only to find her.
She tells me often that she has found me. Like, she came to Canada searching for me. I doubt that's the case, but she found me nonetheless.
Yeah, we just for everybody that wants to know our love story, basically
We're in love. Yes, love.
we're in love.
Okay, yes.
We went to Vancouver Film School. Shout out to the folks in Vancouver Film School.
Shout out to Jim. I miss you.
Is he gonna watch this podcast?
I'm gonna recommend it. Hopefully,
Hopefully
the community is gonna see it. There's a lot of queer community over there too, so we're happy to represent.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I don't know. We became friends first there, and I think that's very important for me first to be able to be like friends with someone, so you can actually have that bond for first, like best friend bond, and then it's like, oh, I actually love you. Interesting. So I think that's what happened. I think I said I love you first. Yeah, I did. Okay.
Guilty, yeah. In 4K, yeah.
I did. I think I just knew inside of me. I didn't want to like admit it, I guess. I was just like, no, I came here to study. What am I doing? And then I just couldn't hold it anymore, and
the rest is history, I guess.
the rest is she asking me to be her girlfriend in the Pride.
Yeah, it's funny because Deanna wanted to be my girlfriend and she asked me, but I had to like sit on it because I was just coming out of a 2-year-long like relationship, but we broke up, so I was still feeling things, but Deanna's been so present through that time. And we were headed to Pride. We were going to the Pride Parade.
We were running.
Yeah, we were running. We were late. As we are, we're gay. And, and yeah, I guess I wanted to be her girlfriend at Pride, so it's so special to us.
Aww.
So I think in a month precisely we're gonna be a year together. So it's
1
like
year.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whole year.
Whoa.
So I was not expecting to, find like a relationship that like fast. But I think it was just meant to be, and it just like made it more clear to me that I was going in the right way, because I feel like I'm discovering myself every day a little more, and I feel very fresh to have like her perspective as someone that, grew up here. I think she doesn't have that much of like stereotypes in her head. I don't think she feels like I'm less or more gay if I do certain things. She just lets me be, which I appreciate. And there's not a lot of like social expectations either. Like, I have to look and behave and be in a very like box way. I don't know. So yeah, I'm totally proud of making the decision to come here. I hope that I can stay, but just currently wanted to graduate from animation and see what comes out of that. Definitely it's very cold in here. Okay, I was told that, and yes, it is cold, but I don't know. I think I like the concept of like seasons, of like having winter and fall and like spring. I think in Colombia, because it's always spring, I think everybody's like happy all the time and kind of like in party mode all the time. So I feel like it's good to have those like different times, because it allows your brain to kind of go and like experience each state of mind, which I think is so like new and fresh for me. I think when it was winter last year, I could have more time to have like introspection for me and kind of like think about what I've been doing this year, what I want to accomplish, rather than just being party mode all the time. So I think
that's a really interesting perspective. I've never heard that from anyone before about like the seasons, because yeah, like, I mean, I've lived in Canada all my life, but every time winter comes around, I mean, I don't mind the cold weather. I actually prefer it to hot weather, but like
Canadian
the
choices.
wintertime depression is just so annoying sometimes. And it's like, I don't want to have to deal with, you know, not wanting to get out of bed because the sun's not up, and like it's just everything slows down kind of. But you're right, like it's a good time to just kind of like chill out a little bit and stop being in party mode and introspect, and that's a really cool perspective.
Thank you. You know, I like to think about balance. I think that's like key in my life. Like I think I have a tattoo here that is like a sun in a moon, and it's kind of representing that for every time that there's a lot of like sun, there has to be like also the night. Like there's not, like life cannot be just always the same. Like that's not how it works. So I think it's the same with like seasons. I think it's very beautiful when I saw like, I don't know, it was very sunny and then out of nowhere the leaves turn red and everything starts going like to fall mode. I was like very like mesmerized. I kind of actually cried the first time. Also when I saw like snow, I cried too because I've never seen that before. So I was like, oh wow, it's so beautiful. I don't know, maybe it's because I've never seen it before, but it's beautiful.
Yes, the snow is beautiful.
It's lovely. I remember when I took you skiing.
Oh no, let's not talk about
I work at Cypress Mountain, so
Gee.
it's easy for me to just go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, Deanna has never skied in her life before. I'm just gonna teach her. But then, of course, there's a stereotype where it's like, if your partner teaches you how to ski, you're gonna break up immediately because
Really?
like it gets like stressful and intense.
Oh.
Like, get up, no, put your feet together, no, bend down more. But
bend down more.
Deanna, I thought this was PG.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, I guess we overcame all of our struggles while I was teaching her how to ski. And it came to the point where it was very late at night and Deanna was in the middle of the run doing a snow angel.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, just God bless.
Never done that one before either, so
Living our best life.
I think what she was very like good. I don't know if that was a first date, but let's just say that it was as friends. And then she was very like patient, you know. Like I fell down so many times that I was constantly not doing the flips or whatever that she was doing. Like whoop. She was like she was having fun, and then I was just falling all the time. So I think
You still had fun.
I'd have fun. And we should repeat. Maybe this time I won't fall so many times, but like I appreciate that she was so patient with me. I really am.
That's so sweet. So, Deanna, one of
Hi.
the first times that I hung out with you, actually the first and only time that we've really hung out, gotta do that more.
Yeah, we gotta.
You asked about my astrology chart, which I love astrology. I'm not like one of those like super fanatics. It's like, oh my gosh, like what sign are they, you know? But I find it really interesting, and I think it gets a lot of like slack for no reason.
Dumb.
So I'm curious to hear more about your astrology journey and what got you interested in it, and like why do you believe in it, you know?
Oh my God, that's the best question in the world, I think. I feel like I love astrology so much that I don't care if people have like bad stereotypes about it or like backlash it and be like, oh no, that's not true, or that's just an esoteric thing. I think it's very like a deep concept for me for like a very young age. I think I was like in, let's say 10th grade probably, where someone just asked me, hey, what's your zodiac sign? I was like totally clueless about that. I was like, and then I don't know, I researched more about it. I think curiosity is a big part of my personality trait, and I don't know, I investigated more about it. I always felt like, I think I'm not very religious, but I'm very spiritual, which is kind of like in the same head, but not really. I think it has to do with the fact that I think it's very beautiful to think about astrology as like a guide for you to like help you understand yourself a little better, and kind of like maybe be aware of things that you could improve on, or kind of like, you know, have in consideration when you take some decisions in your life, I think. And if I were to describe what it is, it would be like you think like a screenshot of the sky in the moment that you're born, kind of, and then kind of like see it as a map, and then you understand what each planet means to you and kind of like the energy that it represents in your life, whether it's kind of like a very mundane thing, kind of like your love or your physical like attributes, kind of like stuff like that. And then I find the metaphor that as closer the planets are to the Earth, the easier to understand them is. And then as farther they go, they're like kind of more complex and kind of like harder to understand. I like that a lot. I think it's kind of like a human body represented in like the planets. And then kind of like the closest it's to here is kind of like from here to the outside. And then it's kind of like, I think it's so beautiful. And I think Amber and I are very compatible.
It's another thing about astrology. You can find out your compatibility with other people based on your charts.
I think it's also understanding in what things you might not maybe resonate that well, and kind of like understand that it's just something that is in you that you can like, let's say, I'm gonna give an example right now.
Oh boy.
Okay, we're gonna talk about Mars now, kind of like random, but I'm just gonna do that. And it's like the planet of like passion, of like energy, sexual communication, stuff like that. And I think if there's someone that has a very docile, very like romantic kind of like zodiac sign in there, as to, for example, Pisces in Mars, I think it will be very compatible to have a Mars that it's like the opposite of it, kind of like a fire one or maybe an air one, kind of like that could give the person what they literally are seeking. If both of them are very like in the same kind of like channel or energy, it could be that both of them are lacking kind of like that different energy in that way. I don't know. If it was like Aries and Pisces, fire and water, I think it would be like complementary, very dominant energy versus a very docile and submissive one. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just interesting to see. And I don't know. I think, for example, a Gemini in Mars, it's kind of someone that is more like into someone that is smart, kind of like that goes in your mind first, kind of like gives you, I don't know, some data, some random facts about life, and then you feel like, oh my god, this person's so smart, I kind of want to them.
Hey, yo.
Sorry, but like that's what I mean, kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't have to be in that way. We can talk about other things, but we know people want to talk about sex sometimes, so it's okay too.
Looks to the camera.
Looks to the camera.
I
know you do. So I briefly wrote down some notes about like Amber's and I birth chart, and I wanted to share some like information there. Maybe you have that at home, or maybe you and later on you can find about it and kind of like understand for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we just want to specify that it's very personalized. So like some of these won't like necessarily go towards you and your birth chart. So
it's also a very common belief that if someone tells you, oh, you're a Gemini, that's all that you are, when in reality there's like a whole combination of like zodiac sign that you have in your chart, and perhaps Gemini is the little one that you have there, and you actually are full of other ones that are more like potent. So let's just say it that way.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the reasons I find a lot of people don't like it. They're like, oh, like, you know, you can't just generalize people like this. But yeah, like you're totally right. When you actually see your specific chart with all of there's like 7 planets.
Oh,
8.
I think there's 9. Oh my
9?
god! Don't put me on the spot right now.
Cut
it now.
We're
Cut
in
it.
the arts program. We don't know numbers.
Fair enough.
I think there's 7.
But
I think there's 8.
Yeah, but it can. Anyways, it can get very specific and sometimes like scarily accurate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've seen that before.
Yeah, so I feel like if you haven't experienced getting your full
7
chart
plus Pluto.
Oh, okay.
Hey yo. Sorry.
So if you haven't got like experienced your full chart reading before, don't shit on astrology because you don't know.
Yeah,
I
we're
personally
open for bookings. $10 per person. I'm joking.
That's pretty cheap.
Hey yo.
I personally respect it so much that I don't think I will like put out myself out there and be like, no, I can totally just give you this for you. I do it more like a fun thing that I like to do for myself. I it's like a hobby, but it really it's been part of my life for so long that I just want like to call it more kind of like a lifestyle POV. I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna explain just very basic stuff so people can at least know about this. So I'm gonna talk about the sun sign. I'm gonna talk about the rising, the moon sign, and maybe a little bit of Mercury, Mars, and Venus, because I think the easiest to understand very like lightly, and that you can, I guess, experience easier in your life and be like, oh yeah, actually kind of behave that way sometimes. So yeah, I like to start with the sun sign because that's basically the sun, the zodiac sign, sorry, that people will tell you that you are kind of like Libra here. You're Virgo.
Yeah. So that's the one based on your birthday, right?
And you're literally the main source. So like the sun, kind of like in different cultures, it kind of representing like this like god of like that brought the vital like aspects of life that made you feel like the basic essence of like your life, you know. So kind of like, I think it might be wrong, but hopefully in the Greek like mythology, I think it's called Apollo, and I think it kind of represents like, you know, the basic thing of, say that you're making a cake, POV the base of it, or like a paint, and then you paint them in white first. That is what this is. It's kind of like your base.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to call it that way. So as for her, that is a Libra, kind of like a very balanced, diplomatic kind of a person, kind of creative, open-minded, kind of like, I'm gonna hear your story, but also your story too. So maybe I don't like miss out or to what have you to say. And if you see her in your like in her daily life, she's not very like confronting. She's more like peaceful. She's more like, no, let's talk about it. Why do we have to fight over this kind of like person? So I see a lot of her Libra energy a lot like in the first like aspect of it. Then as to for me, but I'm a Gemini, I think it goes in a very similar way if you think about it, because a Libra is like a balance of two like things like this, and Gemini is like two faces. And I think it's kind of like it's the same but not really. It's kind of like Gemini, it's I can be this way sometimes and I can be this other way sometimes, versus she can see both sides and see them. It's kind of like tricky, but I think that's a good way to put it out there. I don't know. So like I have my days in which I am totally like extroverted and kind of like hyped, and then I am just in my house and I don't want to come out. I'm just like, oh, bye. So like it's kind of like that. Her rising, or the rising sign, I'll explain in kind of like, this is your body right now. And then you kind of like, I don't want to say mask, because I think mask sounds like it's a fake thing. It's more like a layer that's on top of your body.
It's
that is
like how you present.
Yeah, how you present to people, how people see you when they just met you. And it's kind of like intrusive sometimes, I like to think. For example, she has a Leo rising. Oh gee. And
geez.
I think it's funny because if you see Amber, kind of like a Leo, it's kind of a more dominant. They say the Leos rising have like good hair. I don't know, but look at that.
I mean, that's accurate.
But it's more like kind of like a more like center of attention kind of like type of person, kind of like wherever she walks in, she might be the one that is like talking to other people and getting the eyes to her. And it can go in like different ways. Maybe sometimes she will like to maintain like the control of like a conversation, but that's not bad. It's just like kind of like being participant in the conversation, like not being like left out like a Leo, like a lion. So I find that very like hilarious, because sometimes she's like that, and I wouldn't like explain it very well, and then I saw her Leo rising and I was like, oops, this is why. I don't think it's bad. I think it's beautiful. They also said that having like Leo rising is very like attractive for your chart. So
I mean, if we think about it, Dua Lipa is a Leo. And I don't know if that says a lot to you, but it says a lot to me. Dua Peep? Oh, yeah. She's very...
Interesting.
Like, she's very outgoing, but she's also very centered in her, like, style.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a confident boost that they have that I think it's very perceptible in I guess for what I see of her. Then I have a Cancer rising, which trust me, it was very hard to admit to say it like live. Because to me, having a Cancer like rising, which is like a mass, is that I'm perceived very like sensitive, vulnerable to people, kind of like I take care of them, kind of like mom typey. So the fact that I have it as how people perceive me and see me the first times, I guess they feel very cozy to hang out with me. They feel very safe, kind of like, and I'll take it. But it's just like, I don't think that's the true self. Imagine, I know, I have a perfect metaphor. Imagine the rising like as a door, and it's constantly like there, like closed, and maybe it could be perceived as a painting or something, and that out of nowhere, you meet someone and you like them so much that you open that door, and you let them inside of you so they can see more like the sun sign in you. So it's kind of like, it's true, because I think I am very kind with people when I meet them. I'm like, oh yeah, you're okay. But then when they get to know me, they get to see maybe how I rationalize things, how I see the ideas of things, and then they get to know me in what I am, I guess, more. Right? I think those are the most like that you will find everywhere, and people like, what's your rising? Like mostly because those are like the most evident. But then if we're gonna go deeper, like a metaphor for the sun is the moon. The moon is always perceived as this like feminine like energy because it doesn't have a light of her own. I think it's the sun that brings her the light and can be like perceived. So it kind of like, you know, it's that like metaphor concept of like receiving and kind of like giving. That's why it's perceived as the feminine, and it's our emotional side. And so it's kind of like how you react to emotions, how do you behave with people, kind of like more sentimental kind of typey. And so I think it's important to think about it as a major aspect about your personality. I think I don't underestimate the moon at all. I feel like it's how, like, that's why people get so affected when there's a full moon or kind of like just the beginning of a phase.
Because be cray during the full moon, it's so sure.
And people that are born on like the first stages of the moon phases, kind of like this babe here. I think yours is like a waxing crescent. Okay. Yeah. It's more like the beginning quarter of the phases, which means that in this lifetime she will be more of a learning individual, kind of like hearing things, kind of like understanding things, rather than one that will teach. But that's not like bad, because I think those people are the ones that learn faster, pay attention to detail faster, and they're more like in present of the moment type. I personally, I am a waxing gibbous moon, which I just learned.
She's the opposite of
I'm
me.
the open, a quarter before full, which makes us so compatible again.
That reminds me of the, like, there's like this moon filter going viral on TikTok right
TikTok.
now, where you put in your
they kind of like slide
birthday
together.
Yeah. And then you put in your partner's birthday, and if your moons like complete each other, then you're soulmates.
It'd kind of be like, ours would be like a donut. We'd have a circle in the middle. Because like I'm just like the sliver, and then Deanna's the other sliver.
Interesting.
Everything's about bagels.
So I think it's very important. And I don't know, full moons, am I right? Do you not feel like enraged in those days? It's because your energy is like to the fullest point that it could be. So you're probably done that day. You're like, oh, I just want to go. I just want to sleep. I hate it here. And then the next day you woke up and you're like, actually, I'm fine. It's because the moon just started over. And it's kind of like so fun to think about it that way. I don't know. I'm going to briefly explain what the astrology houses are, because I think it's very important. I don't think it's mentioned in a lot of like videos or podcasts that I've seen. So I'm just going to briefly talk about it a little bit. So imagine that there's like 12 houses per sign, and each one represent like that aspect about life. For example, the first house is the Aries house, is the beginning of all the zodiac signs, right? So it's like the childhood house. It's like where you come from, your roots, kind of. So I think if you think about, oh, I have Gemini in the first house, it's different. It's because this zodiac sign is behaving inside this house. It can be uncomfortable or totally comfortable for them. Kind of like you, if you went to someone's house that you don't like and kind of you have to live there and just be like, oh. Kind of like the same thing happens here. Example, she has a moon in Sagittarius in a 5th house. And the 5th house is house of like pleasure, house of like
On live TV.
not that kind of, I mean, it could be, but like I mean like fun, like activities, like going out, like having like a first experience literally for the first time, like that joy of that first time. So it means like Amber loves and it's the best of herself emotionally like the moon, when she's able to connect with her inner child, when she's able to do activities that remind her of youth, of like just being free. In that moment, her emotional side is the most stable. That's what it means.
And you would say that's accurate?
I'd say so. I feel like I play a lot of Minecraft. So that's a lot of childhood like repression that I've brought back into my youth.
Interesting.
But no, I do see it like every day. Say I don't know, say we go to the beach. I'm the one that's like picking up crabs and like trying to put it in everybody's faces because it's a little bit scary. Just funny things, I guess.
Funny things, I guess.
The Sagittarius moon, I don't know.
Oh, and having that Sagittarius moon, which is like the moving, like zodiac sign, is the one that likes to travel. Sagittarius is all about creative, all about I don't want to be in one place at the same time. She gets bored so easily that it's kind of ridiculous at times. In a good way. No monotony in this household.
True. I get restless more. I don't know. I feel like say I'm reading a book. I can be so into that book. I can finish it in one go, or I stop and I never come back to it. There's no in between, Beth. None.
Oops. So yeah, I think for her, in her emotional like aspect, having that there also means having someone that can bring that like diversity of like activities in her life. Like if someone is very like still, tells her no, let's just stay here all day every day and do the same things over and over, I don't think she will be comfortable at no. I think that's what it means. It means someone that needs to, I don't know, go and paint out of nowhere and then, oh no, let's just go to a rave. I don't know. We've never been to a rave. I don't know.
Not yet.
Yeah, I haven't been either, but
we're
Let's
game.
go to a rave
Let's
together.
I'm down.
So I don't know. I think that's all I'm gonna say about the moon right now. But definitely, there's people that have like I think the Mayas. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I think I've read that they had a whole different like calendar for the moon and Venus and the sun. So it kind of like makes it be like more special or more important, you know?
Yeah.
So kind of like, I think, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. So we can talk about a little more about the others. So, yeah, I think I tried yesterday to immerse Amber a little bit more about it because I wanted her to be more conscious of her like self as well. And then I decided to compare it to both of us to see the compatibility. I feel like when people go to like astrologists, they go to understand how could they be more like healthy with their partner, how they can fix a relationship with, I don't know, a family member. And I think that's so fair. Like I will totally do that as well if I will be in like in a place where I do not understand something and I go for it and I try to read it and I still don't go for it. I feel like I've had a couple of friends back in Colombia that have taught me a little bit about astrology, and that's because of them that I went even deeper into researching some like sites and websites. And I think thanks to them today I can say that I could comfortably like read a little bit and be kind of like 50-50 in what I think it's true about it. Like I feel it's so deep, like there's so many like deep planets that they need more time to analyze because they don't turn as soon as the other planets that go around very fast. They take like a whole year to turn. So it means that that energy will take years to understand how you changed in that energy particularly. That's why they say that there's like generation trauma, or there's like people from a certain like year that behave very weird. It's because of that those planets, which is also very interesting. So there's that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of
Of-
that, like a specific one, or?
Well, I guess I can talk a little bit about. Okay, I think Saturn, which is, the one that has like meteorites like all around like the rings.
Yeah.
That planet represents like boundaries, like what you have as limits, right? So if you think about it, for a generation, could be something related more like with a financial like state. So maybe that whole round of people for the whole year that were born kind of have that into consideration all the time, like, oh no, we have to pay this, we have to think about this. And then another one could be more like free and be like Aquarius and be like, no, we have to be creative, we have to express ourselves. Like this one, for example, this right now is Aquarius, so shout out to all the people that feel like they need to express themselves and be creative for whatever the reason. It's because of that. So that's important to think about it. Like, I like the concepts behind the planets and how they express in people. I feel like it's gorgeous. And so Jupiter is the planet of luck. And you may think, oh, why is the planet of luck? Well, it's because it's so huge that it stops the Earth from getting like meteorites. Sorry, my English is broken, but and it means, that's what it means, luck for us, because it's stopping stuff for getting in here and like killing us and destroying us. So it's like, the way that we analyze it is that luck in your life, which is kind of it's kind of cool.
So one of those phrases that I've heard a lot in like astrology discussions is about Mercury being in retrograde, and everybody seems super freaked out about that. So can you explain what that means and why it's so important?
Yeah, I'll give you my best shot at that. Yeah, I think for starters, I have to explain then what Mercury like relates to, right? So Mercury, it's kind of like the planet of communication, kind of like the planet of your mind, basically. How you, okay, so like as in a literal format, in Mercury, the planet, there are a lot of like stuff going on inside of it. Like there's a lot of like air, like a lot of like dust storms, like a lot of things literally happen in the planet that makes it feel. And it's also the fastest planet to turn around. You know what? Like I cannot tell you the like numbers right now, but I know it's the fastest, which will associate with ideas, with thoughts, with like the way that we think. So if you put it as it's in your mind and it's going to the opposite energy that it's supposed to go, like it's in an uncomfortable position, then everybody's mind is kind of like bugging them. It's kind of like trapped, like going in like reverse mode. Kind of like if you have everything good in your life, then you're thinking that everything is bad, or you're putting everything into consideration. You're thinking, what am I doing with my life right now? So that's why people are saying, oh no, Mercury's in retrograde. Everybody's mind it's bad. It's kind of like like a meme typey, because it's kind of like, yeah, your mind is totally going backwards to what it's supposed to be doing right now. So talking about that, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about like ours. Maybe you have our same Mercuries and y'all now you know a little bit. So this girl here, she has Virgo Mercury and I have a Gemini Mercury. And as to what you will expect, each planet is ruled by like zodiac signs, because it's like their natural state is the zodiac signs that rule this planet, the ones that are comfortable in it. And luckily Mercury is ruled by Virgo and Gemini, so it's like
we got lucky. I don't know, we got
lucky or we're just overthinkers too. Anyway, so having it like in Virgo means that she's very practical. Like she has a lot of like quick ideas to solve like difficulties or like problems, that she has a clear mindset, that she can be open-minded. That's kind of what it means. And for like a Gemini more, it's more like analytic kind of type. It kind of like is reading a social scenario and academic and be like, oh, I understand this is this and that, and kind of like explain concepts that could be very like hard to explain in like small or tiny like concepts. I don't know how to me being like the opposite right now. Anyway, the point is that I think it's very comfortable. I think hers is on the 3rd house, which is the house of environment, which, if I'm not wrong, it's a Gemini house, which I think leads for her to be in a place and then understand the place and kind of like be useful in the environment. I think that's how I will explain it. Like she'll be here right now with everybody in this room and like look at everyone and kind of like understand what's going on and kind of like really pay attention to detail. Probably Sherry knows the pins that you have on.
Yeah, I could guess.
Okay, what?
Okay, Bethany has a pride pin. I saw it. It's got the flag. She's also got the she, her pronoun pin. It's orange. She's wearing a rainbow lanyard. And there's also another pin on there. It might just be the flag.
It's what?
Yeah, let's go!
Oh!
Pride pin, pronoun pin.
Well, my bad. It's in the stars, I'm sorry.
It's in the stars. So I think sometimes people ask me, do you have a favorite planet? Yes, I do. And yes, it's Mercury. I think it's so, I don't know, beautiful looking planet. I think it's very kind of like yellowish, kind of like orangish a little bit. And I think the fact that it represents the mind, it really resonates with me. I think to every situation that I do, I think I always kind of like, sometimes it's not good, especially when it's emotions, because you don't rationalize emotions. Oh my God, what is that? That's not English. You don't rationalize emotions. You kind of like just feel them, which is hard if you have in your Venus or in your Mars like a very rational zodiac sign, because then when you're in the moment, then you kind of just like.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about, because I have Virgo and Mars, right? And that's like...
You do. She does. Okay, so...
Yeah, elaborate.
You can explain what
they
that
need
means.
to know.
Yeah, I think that's a good
about
transition.
to expose myself here, but go ahead.
Welcome to the club, Beth.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, we can move on to Mars right away, right, like that. So yeah, she has a Virgo in Mars, which kind of is like a very analytical, kind of like rational zodiac sign, kind of like think about things, kind of like how do we do things better. And if you think about it as to the, you know, like the planet of like sex, kind of like the planet of passion, then it means that she will put into like perspective a lot when she's in that, like those scenarios. Like she will rationalize them rather than just let herself be in it, which it could be fun, but definitely is like an opposed energy, right? So I don't know, you can tell us if you agree with that or no.
I mean, like I am asexual, and I think that's definitely part of it, where I see when I like sex is just a very kind of, yeah, like I kind of see it from a distance and like think about it in a very like rational, like logical way, instead of, yeah, it would be very hard for me to be in an intimate situation and just feel it out. Like I would be overthinking it the whole time. I know that about myself. Yeah.
Well, it's good. Honestly, it's in the stars as well. So
yeah.
I don't think it's either bad or good. I just think it's like a fact, something that if you understand, you're like, oh, this is why this is kind of like strange to me. Well, it's just good to know. I think I personally have my Mars on Gemini, which also kind of is like a very thinking zodiac sign. And what it happens to me is that I will not have sex with I already cursed so much. Anyway, have sex with someone that I don't think shares my moral code or like kind of like my ideas, mindset typey, because I don't feel like there's a point of it. Like I want to make like a fusion, like Steven Universe typey with someone that I think resonates with me, kind of like that we can bond over our thoughts and ideas. Like what if you have sex with the most beautiful person and then out of nowhere they're like, so yesterday I kind of like slapped my puppy. That would be so bad. So like I think I couldn't do it unless I know their mind first, for sure. So yeah, that's my Mars over there. As to opposed to her, she has Mars in a very comfortable like zodiac sign. She has it in Libra too, which luckily Libra and Gemini are very compatible. So I think it's fun. It's like she makes me feel like it's a fun thing to do, and like we can have fun together doing it, rather than I have to think about it more or I have to only think about it superficially. Like she understands me when I'm like maybe all in my head and kind of like it's more docile with me. I don't know how to explain that, but it's kind of like that. Yeah. So we can talk about our Venus, and we could talk about what everybody wants to talk about sometimes, that is love. I think it's more like a romantic kind of love, more like a sensual love rather than
Like
erotic
connection?
kind of
Okay.
love. Sorry, yeah.
Like connection-wise.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Okay.
romance, kind of like, you know, it in Greek mythology, I think it's Aphrodite. It's kind of like that beauty, like of things, of a person, of someone that is represented like very this, you know, hearts, kind of pink energy. I don't know, and I think I have mine on Taurus. Yeah, I do, which is kind of more like an earth sign that it is Taurus. It's kind of more like I like to touch things. I like to smell things. So I think when I'm in love with someone, they have to smell good, kind of.
Whoa, that is stretching it. But we caught it on camera, so anyway.
Kind of like they have to have a very comfortable exterior, kind of. Not that they have to look a certain way, but they have to be very confident and very like taking care of themselves physically
Yeah.
for me to be able to perceive them and be like comfortable, like literally with them. And I think it's kind of like a little bit superficial, I know, but I think it's in the house that it's supposed to go. I think Venus is supposed to be Taurus and Libra ruled. So I think,
For real, hey?
yeah.
Oh, shoot.
So I think we're doing that again. She's Libra, Venus, and I'm a Taurus. So
Interesting.
So we're gay, basically. Yeah.
so I think when we're like in the romantic aspect of things, I feel like we're both very, very gay, very romantic, very kind of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bring you flowers. Oh yeah, let's like a bath with like aromas or like kind of like
Oh, bath
candles.
bombs? We've been into bath bombs a lot. Bath salts. Oh my god, we love that stuff.
And we're like
Anyway,
sort
it's
of
Venus.
comfortable with that. Like we're not tabooing it. We're just like, let's do this or that, and it's like very like balanced. I don't know, as opposed to say you have a Venus on, I don't know. I'm gonna say one Pisces. I think Pisces is very like romantic, but in a way that it's like more like, okay, you're gonna be with me, then write me letters, kind of like take care of me, be soft with me, be gentle with me, and it's a more like sensitive energy, and it's kind of like, oh no, I'm gonna protect you, kind of typey, as opposed as like Venus and Libra that are more like, oh, we're together, kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm gonna expose my sister right now, but she has Pisces on
We love you.
Venus, Mars on Pisces, and Mercury on Pisces, which is a
lot of
triple
Pisces.
Pisces,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
which
wow.
makes her someone that not only like in her dating life, but in her mindset, she's always very like vulnerable, very sensitive, very kind of like, no, protect me, kind of like I'm an innocent, kind of like. And she's the best example. Like, if you will meet her someday, she's most like it. Like, you know her, so you can agree or
Yeah,
deny.
I can second that. Love you.
Yeah, hearts.
Yay! Shout out. So I don't know. And they people say like, could you tell by your zodiac sign if someone is like a bottom? Well, yes and no.
Yes and no.
No, get into it.
I can say that I've seen like some similar traits in people that have like told me that they're like submissive or dominant in a relationship, and I find that like true. Yeah, you could, I guess. Like if you have a Mars that is very Pisces, you're more likely to be more like submissive. Yeah, in like a relationship, not only sexually, but I mean like more like passive in the way that you react to things. And that could be in any kind of person. Like, it doesn't matter if they're gay or not, or if it's a like a straight relationship, it's a guy. Then it means it's more like a listener guy, the guy that is just like there and kind of like listens to their partner and be like, oh, no, I understand you, I hear you, I want to make you feel like I hear you and I'm here for you, kind of like energy, which it's totally respectable. I think because my Mars is in Gemini, it's very both. It's kind of like some days I wake up and I'm like, okay, no, let's do this and that, and then the other days I'm just like, no, I don't know, let's do what you want to do. And she can agree or deny.
It's true. It's a true story.
Yeah, I see. But yeah, I don't know. Aries in Mars, anyone that has Aries in Mars and tells me that they're not like the the dominant source in their relationship, they're lying. They're lying.
We know. We see.
They're lying. Or like a fire sign there, like I don't know, Sagittarius, Leo. Oh my God, Leo in Mars. Jesus Christ.
You better watch out.
Ooh. I don't. It's not a red flag. I think it's actually a green flag, but I'll be intimidated for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's spicy. It's just spicy.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting. What would you recommend for people who are interested in astrology and want to know more about their own charts? Like, where can they go to find this information?
Well, I think I personally like 2 websites. I'm not being paid for this, but I think
Not sponsored.
not sponsored, but you're welcome. If you speak Spanish, there's a website called Los Arcanos, and it's kind of like you can put on Google just Carta Astral, which is birth chart, and Los Arcanos, and then you put your birth date. You need to know your time of birth.
The time, where,
and just the year,
yeah.
the basics, and it's
Birthday.
because of the the coordinates of the sky where you are born is necessary, because it's not the same day at the same time, but then you live in Canada and I live in Colombia. It's a whole different thing, because the sky is showing different constellations at the time in that side. So I feel like it's very accurate if you think about it. It's kind of like magical. Anyway, so Los Arcanos, for people that speak Spanish, I think there's like a way that you can just put like translate the website and it works the same. But
yeah, absolutely. If you go online and you search up like birth chart kind of situation,
but if you speak in English, AstroSeek, like seeking astroseek.com, and then you can put like birth chart there. It's a very good one as well. I think I
really like to use CoStar.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've heard
CoStar.
of that. It's an app,
good.
right?
It is.
Yeah.
It does take off a lot of data, but it doesn't really. I just have like COD Mobile and Minecraft taking up a lot of storage. But no, CoStar is good for kind of comparing with your friends. You can add people so that you kind of see like, oh, Beth is struggling right now. Yeah. So I'm gonna text her, But I use that a lot.
I think I haven't explored that one very much, but if she recommends it, maybe there's something there that I'm missing. But I'm thinking in AstroSeek, they have a very long description of each, so maybe you can have a better insight of it, because sometimes interpreting is I think the hardest part about everything, because it will have to be you have to analyze yourself very much to see how this energy is showing in you. I personally got shocked yesterday when I found out I have 3 of my planets in the same house, which, as I explained, is just imagine that all the zodiac signs are kids, and they're very in their energy, very wild, and they grow up in this house, and then they just leave, and then you are born, and then a new kid goes in that maybe it's not their house, so it kind of it reacts to it. And because I have 3 on the same one, which is the 12th house, which kind of relates a lot of self-sacrifice, kind of putting yourself to help others, because I have it in 3 of my most important planets. I could see that a lot in myself, and I did never understand why I am like that. I think I'm always wanting people to feel better with themselves, kind of I don't care if I have to sacrifice, I don't know, my time, my energy, if at the end they tell me I feel better now, I think I get a recharge or something. It's so strange. And seeing it in so many, I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I see it too, honestly.
Oh. So, yeah, I don't know. If you have 3 times the zodiac sign repeated in your chart, if you can see it as a ball of like more larger energy of that zodiac sign in you, as compared to like little energies, you have a big one of that one because you have
It's combined.
and my sister example. I get my sister again.
We love you.
She has 3 Aries, 3 Taurus, and 3 Pisces.
Wow.
So she's very like
We'd
I don't
say
wanna
balance, but not really.
not balanced, but her like actions are more like defined. You know, like maybe you could see where she's going because she's not gonna like doubt it. She's like that, and that's it. You know, and I think that's valuable too. I feel like it has helped her to understand herself as well. So, if you're interested about astrology and you want to look a little bit more into yourself, I would totally recommend it. I feel it's a lot of like insight. It's kind of like therapeutic. I feel you like seeking into your inner traumas a little bit because there's also a part of it that is called the Lilith and Chiron, which are like basically your traumas. I don't know if you've heard about them at all. I think I told you a little bit the other day. And
yeah.
I think in AstroSeek you can look a little bit about that. It's just Lilith is like the black moon. It's kind of like the dark side out of things, out of you. So if you look at your Lilith there, you can see what's hidden in you that nobody knows. And then you can read it and be like, oh my God, yeah, I am like this. Or kind of like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. I don't know, whatever. And then Chiron is more like, you know, the Sagittarius like sign. Basically, he got hit by an arrow and it's immortal, so it's always suffering forever until, you know, it like ended up being a constellation, kind of like gave up on that. But the point and the metaphor is to say that it's something that you will have to live with your lifetime, like a trauma or like an issue. And I feel like I read mine and I was like, versus like seeing it like, oh no, this is my downfall, I'm gonna have to deal with this. It's more like, okay, I'm aware that my tendencies to go in this direction are very clear. So now that I'm aware, I can have more actions to like, you know, go and confront
cautious,
it. Be cautious in it.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah. So it's more of like a tool of understanding yourself and like seeing where your downfalls are and working against or like working with that in mind rather than this is exactly how I am and I can't change.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like, I don't know, I've never been into astrology, but then Deanna came into my life, told me everything about myself, and I was like, the stars told you that? Okay. But I see it, honestly.
I think if I will classify it as a type of astrology, I'll more like a horoscope, or not horoscope, but more like an oracle. I think it's kind of like a evolutive astrology. I'll call it that, like that for me, because as you go with it, you evolve. You kind of like transcend the person that you used to be because now you're aware and you have decided that you want to be more than what you were previously, which is, I think, is more important rather than to me to go to someone, oh, when can I go and be more rich about it, or can I go think about like something like more like therapeutic for me. I don't think I want to know what I'm gonna be doing in 10 years. No, it's not the kind
like
that
you use it as a tool to work on yourself, as opposed to like, oh, Beth, did you know that I'm a Libra? Like, it's so cool. Like, Deanna, you really reflect on it, and I feel like you use it to grow within yourself between the connections you make with other people.
Oh yeah, and I don't know. I'm tired sometimes of people like thinking that it's just, oh, you're a witch or things like that. Like they associate it right away to like,
yeah,
oh,
like
you
witchcraft.
can read my you can read my future kind of typey, and I'm like, okay. First off, those are very different like things. Like from the beginning of time, man has always been interested in stars, of like analyzing them, of like relating them to themselves because they're just there, and it's like if you see each culture, Egyptians, Greeks, like Romans, Mayas, they all interpreted the stars, and if you like round them all up, it's kind of like the same way, kind of like the same energies, and kind of like. And
Same theory.
It's same theory, and I think it's beautiful because of that. I feel like it doesn't leave any like ideas out of it. I feel like it's very like true to itself, to its roots, and I think it's constantly evolving, and someone to say, "Oh, I don't believe in that." I don't. It's like saying, like, go to me and talk to me after you understand where it comes from, and then maybe okay, I'll leave with that. But when they tell me no, it's just witchy things. I don't think it's true. I think you're just trying to guess things. When I think it's very like related to astronomy and like thoughts of the past.
It's
So
annoying. It does, and like you feel like, say I practice like just a little bit. Don't call me a witch or anything,
Witch.
but a witch. But like say white magic is completely different than black magic, which is a totally different podcast. But
Stay tuned.
but yeah, I feel like the astrology, there's kind of more formula to it, instead of like I would practice white magic, say, for like, I don't know, not to gain stuff, but to like have insight as well. So like astrology kind of goes hand in hand, but it's not magic.
Yeah.
It's very real. It's factual.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, like, it's just another tool for living your life more intentionally. And I think that's so important. And like what I love about spirituality and how it encourages people to, you know, really understand themselves and understand the people around them.
For sure.
And just live life with intention and for the purpose of connection. And it's like,
we're strong believers.
Yeah. It's really cool.
yeah,
Well.
it's just, and when people tell me, oh, you hate like religions, like they assume automatically because I like astrology that I'm just like this person that just doesn't
Has lost their way.
It's kind of insane because I think everybody's free to do whatever they want to do and believe, and I think astrology is just a way to perceive your life. Doesn't really mean that you're like devoted to like a thought and a specific thought, you know. I have a lot of religious family, I said, and I'm still true to that. Like I was raised there, and I never was like, you're bad because you believe in this. No, I actually was like, well, if you believe in this, I respect you because you have your own life and you can do what you want to do, just let me be doing what I like to do. And I think it's just a nice tool to understand feelings and understand thoughts without like being very judgmental about it, I think.
Yeah. I want to thank you both so much for coming on this podcast and
thank you
for chatting with me. This was super fun.
I love it here.
Very
had a lot of fun.
yeah, it was a very insightful conversation. I really loved like getting to learn more about both of you because, you know, I'm good friends with your sister Maria, but the three of us haven't had the chance to spend much time together.
True.
So I
gotta
look forward,
change that.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to doing that more in the future.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having us. We're ecstatic to be here supporting the gay community. Absolutely.
I feel like she's got stuff coming on that is probably gonna be even more amazing, and I will recommend this podcast to everyone that I know.
We're looking forward to everything else you bring to this podcast. So thank you so much for bringing
Thank
it.
you.
You
Yeah.
do a lot for this community.
I think having a space to speak about what you love, it is really what will change and make people feel more comfortable in the future. So
It almost makes me want to cry. Like I get emotional with
Oh.
your message. So
let's cry
thank
together.
I'm doing it for you guys.
Well, it's another win for the gays.
Yay! Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Beth.
Of course.